Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We have spoken about the virtues and significance of Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa and the region surrounding it. We have also spoken a little bit about what exactly we refer to when we say Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa or Bayt Al-Maqdis or Al-Quds, and the various implications of Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, meaning that particular delineated walled compound, and Bayt Al-Maqdis also referring to, generally speaking, the walled compound, but it is often expanded to mean the city of Jerusalem and sometimes even the area around it, and the same goes for Al-Quds. So today Al-Quds is used for the city of Jerusalem, for the region around it, and sometimes it is used for the masjid itself. Another term that's used is Al-Bayt Al-Muqaddas, which is similar to Bayt Al-Maqdis. Let's talk a little bit about the origins. I mentioned a hadith from Abu Dharr radiyallahu anhu in Sahih al-Bukhari, where Abu Dharr radiyallahu anhu asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Ayyul masjidi or ayyu masjidin wudi'a fil ardi awwalan?" Which masjid was designated? Which place in the world was designated as a place of worship, as a mosque first? So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Al-Masjid al-Haram." He asked, what was the second place? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam responded that it was Al-Masjid al-Aqsa. Abu Dharr radiyallahu anhu asked how much time had passed in between. So the Prophet ﷺ explained to him 40 years. Now, in order to understand the origin of Masjid al-Aqsa, we need to look at the origins of the Kaaba because they are so closely related in time. So the origins of the Kaaba are, as we stated in our series regarding Baytullah, the angels or Adam alayhi salam laid the foundation for the Kaaba. And what some ulama have said is that the angels actually came and showed Adam alayhi salam where to lay the foundation of Al-Masjid al-Haram, and he did so in Mecca. It is highly likely that it was Adam alayhi salam, due to the short span of time in between the foundation of both masjids. It was also Adam alayhi salam who laid down the foundation of Al-Masjid al-Aqsa, and some narrations mention that it was the angels. Again, there also it is deduced that the angels showed Adam alayhi salam where to lay the foundation of Al-Masjid al-Aqsa. Some ulama have said that it was Sheeth, the son of Adam alayhi salam, who went and laid the foundation of Al-Masjid al-Aqsa. This is also possible, but it is not necessary. Then there are some who said it was Sam, the son of Nuh, who laid down the foundation of Al-Masjid al-Aqsa. This is highly unlikely because he came well over 1,000 years, probably maybe 1,500 years or more after Adam alayhi salam. So that would not fit the hadith that is describing the chronology and the time span that transpired in between both masjids. Now, Adam alayhi salam lays the foundation of Al-Masjid al-Haram, and he also lays the foundation of Al-Masjid al-Aqsa. This could be in the form of some rudimentary structure. As we know, Ibrahim alayhi salam was not the first one to construct Al-Masjid al-Haram or the Kaaba. He was not the first one to construct the Kaaba. Rather, the Quran says that he raised the foundations. The foundations were already there. He raised the structure from its foundations. It is possible that Sayyidina Adam alayhi salatu wasalam also laid down some foundations and built a rough structure where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded him to place the foundation of Al-Masjid al-Aqsa. Now time passes. Thousands of years pass, and there is no great mention of Masjid al-Aqsa or Al-Quds Al-Ard al-Muqaddasa, there isn't any great mention. When we look to works of history, we find that this region started becoming populated and visited by people probably somewhere around 8000 BC, before Isa alayhi salam's time. There are remnants of visitors and people coming there even before that, but this is where civilizations began to form. There is evidence, for example, of a wall built around the city of Ariha, of Jericho, around that time. And there was some form of structure and civilization. Some historians have said that it was not a consistent presence of people. People came and they left, nations came and they left, and it wasn't till around 4000 BC that the area really started getting developed and more permanent settlements, cities and towns were constructed, and this was primarily around the area of Jericho. Now, we fast forward to the time of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. We mentioned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent him, rescued him to the land that he had blessed. وَنَجَّيْنَاهُ وَلُوطًا إِلَى الْأَرْضِ الَّتِي بَارَكْنَا فِيهَا لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Lut alayhi salam settles in Sodom. Ibrahim alayhi salam settles a little bit further away. Where exactly did he go? Some narrations mention that he first settled in what was called Shechem, or in Arabic Shakhim, which is referred to today as Nablus, the city of Nablus in Palestine. He settled there, and after some time, due to certain reasons, it could be because of a scarcity of food, it could be for some other purpose, he traveled to Egypt. This is where Ibrahim alayhi salam had the encounter with the tyrant king, with the pharaoh of that time. Some say it wasn't the pharaoh himself, rather it was some of his relatives who were ruling over parts of Egypt for him. Ibrahim alayhi salam has married Sarah, who according to some narrations was in fact his cousin. So as he is traveling with her, it is learned that this ruler takes any beautiful woman, any woman that he finds attractive, he takes her and kills her husband. So his people tell him that there is a woman who is extremely beautiful and attractive, and she should belong to only you. No one else should have her. Ibrahim alayhi salam tells Sarah that when you speak to him, tell him that you are my sister. And when the ruler speaks to Ibrahim alayhi salam, he also says that she is my sister. Now, what was the need for this? In some narrations of hadith, it's mentioned that he told Sarah at that time that, look, there in this land, meaning where they were caught or arrested, there are no believers other than you and me. So in terms of faith, you are my sister, although in relation you are my wife. So I will say this. Now, why did Ibrahim alayhi salam have to say this? Ulama have mentioned that in the event that it was the husband that was traveling with this woman, she was a married woman, the king would normally kill the husband and take the woman. In the event that she was traveling with another relative and she was unmarried, it was highly likely that he would propose to her and ask to take her. So Ibrahim alayhi salam felt that I have some room to make negotiation and somehow save her from this predicament. But if I say that I am her husband, and she is my wife, then he will immediately kill me and take her against her will. Now, after this happened, Ibrahim alayhi salam stood up in salat and began praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meanwhile, this ruler comes and takes Sarah alayhi salam, and he tries to get close to her. Now, there are various narrations that depict what happened at that time. Some narrations mention that his hand became immobile. He couldn't move his hand. Basically, he lost all movement to his hand. It was like that hand became paralyzed. And other narrations mention that he fainted and he was not able to get up. So when he saw that this is happening, he turned to her and he asked her that, please pray that I am released from this, I won't touch you again. In the meantime, Sarah alayhi salam is making dua. She's making dua to Allah. Oh Allah, I've always been true to you. I've always believed in you. And I've always been loyal to my husband. So do not put me in this situation. Save me from this. So when this happened with that ruler, that all of a sudden he became immobile and he lost consciousness. So she understood that this was a sign from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So she made dua for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make him better, and so that he could fulfill his promise and release her. However, he lied. He approached her once again, and the same thing happened the next time, and the same thing happened a third time. After that, he said that we cannot keep this woman. He rebuked those who had brought her to him, and he gave her many gifts and so on and so forth in exchange. And amongst those gifts, as the narrations say, was As-Sayyida Hajar, the mother of Ismail alayhi salam. Now, Sarah alayhi salam gave Hajar to Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam as a gift and as a wife that he could marry, so he could free her and marry her as his wife and have children, because up till this time she was unable to have children. So now they go back towards Sham. And this time, narrations mention that Ibrahim alayhi salam chose the place that is called Al-Khalil or Hebron. He chose that to be his place of residence, and there he resided. About a year or so later, his wife has Ismail alayhi salam, and so he takes them back to Mecca, as the story is well known and understood. From this point onwards, he only goes back to Mecca to visit once a year. His primary residence is there in Hebron. He grows old in this process and still does not have any children from Sarah. One day, angels come to visit him. And the Quran narrates this incident in a few places. وَلَقَدْ جَاءَتْ رُسُلُنَا إِبْرَاهِيمَ بِالْبُشْرَى قَالُوا سَلَامًا قَالَ سَلَامٌ. The angels came, and some hadiths mention that there were 3 angels that came to Ibrahim alayhi salam to bring him good news. Good news of what? That comes just a few verses later. They said salam, he replied with salam, and quickly he went off and slaughtered a healthy, plump calf. He roasted it and he presented it to his guests. And he is waiting for them to eat, but they are not eating. فَلَمَّا رَأَى أَيْدِيَهُمْ لَا تَصِلُ إِلَيْهِ نَكِرَهُمْ. When he saw that they are not extending their hands to eat this food, right away he felt that something was wrong with them. He started feeling a little bit uncomfortable. So they said, look, do not be afraid. We have not come to do anything bad here. He understood that these are angels, and they're probably angels of bringing the adab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is why he's feeling so nervous and so uncomfortable around them. They understood this and they said, you have nothing to be worried about, nothing to be afraid of. We have been sent to the people of Lut to deliver Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's wrath and punishment to them. Meanwhile, his wife Sarah, who was helping him serve the food, she was standing and she began to laugh. Now, Mufassirin have mentioned 2 reasons why she would have laughed. One was that here we are running around to serve these guests and they're not even eating our food. And people like Ibn Kathir rahimahullah have mentioned that she laughed because she was happy that finally those people were going to get what they deserved. Khair. Then, while she was standing there, they gave her a glad tiding. فَبَشَّرْنَاهَا بِإِسْحَاقٍ وَمِنْ وَرَاءِ إِسْحَاقَ يَعْقُوبَ. 2 glad tidings. One is that you are about to have a son whose name will be Ishaq. And then he in turn will have a son by the name of Yaqub. So she was astonished and shocked, and she slapped her forehead, and she said, "How is this possible? Ya waylata alidu wa ana ajuzun wa hada ba'li shaykha." I am an old woman, and look at my husband, he is also very old. And in the verses of Surah Al-Dhariyat, ajuzun aqim, I am an old woman who is barren. Not only have I passed the age of delivering a child or conceiving a child, but I've always been barren. I've never been able to have children. So some narrations mention that at that time Ibrahim alayhi salam had reached the age of 99 and she was at the age of 75. But they said, "Ata'jabina min amrillah." Are you surprised at the command of Allah? Are you amazed at the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Rahmatullahi alaykum wa barakatuhu. Rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu alaykum ahlul bayt. Allah's mercy is upon you. Allah's blessings are upon you, O people of this family. And Allah Azza wa Jal is worthy of all praise, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deserves all glory. So after this incident, the angels who were on their way to bring doom and destruction to the nation of Lut alayhi salam, they went, but before they went, Ibrahim alayhi salam pleaded with them that please don't go. He started begging Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, "Oh Allah, don't punish them, do not destroy the people of Lut." So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "Ya Ibrahim, a'rid an hada, innahu qad ja'a amru rabbik." The command of your Lord has passed, so leave this alone. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praises Ibrahim alayhi salam, that he was Halim, Awwah and Munib. He was Halim, he was tolerant, he was patient. He waited for the angels to finish whatever it was that they had come to say, and then he started pleading. And he was so earnestly seeking to call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he was always turning towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah Azza wa Jal praises him for these characteristics and these qualities. Now, Ibrahim alayhi salam does have his son Ishaq alayhi salam, who is born and raised there. Ishaq alayhi salam has his son Yaqub alayhi salam. In fact, he has two sons, Ishaq and Isu. Now, these two brothers, they went off in their different ways. The story is very lengthy, but we'll come back to it, where Yaqub alayhi salam comes back to Sham, this Al-Ard al-Muqaddasa, and settles there. And as historians and Mufassirin have mentioned, the place where he chose to settle was once again Shechem or Shechem, Nablus, the place where Ibrahim alayhi salam had originally settled. So at a small distance from where his grandfather Ibrahim alayhi salam had passed away, and where Ishaq alayhi salam had passed away, right next to him, to that same place. And Yaqub alayhi salam establishes himself and has his family there. This general area, what is referred to as Sham or referred to as Palestine, this area at that time was referred to as Canaan. The people who resided there were known as the Canaanites, the Canaaniyin. And from here, the story takes a very interesting turn.